pensions are a dying breed, as I'm sure you know. And if you have a pension from your current employer or a previous employer, then you're really one of a lucky few. I talk to a lot of retirees, and many of them don't have any pension at all. Some of them do have a pension from an earlier employer, and it's a small amount. Maybe they're going to get $100 a month. And so pension benefits are not a big part of most retirees' retirement picture. But if you have a pension, then you want to make the most of it. And so it's important to understand how it works and how it's going to play out for you over your retirement so that you can make the very best choice of the options that you're presented with. Now, typically a pension will offer, obviously, a single life payout. That would be something that pays you for as long as you are living. It can also offer a joint life payout that will pay as long as you're living and as your spouse is living. If either of you are living, it continues to pay. It's a lower income, and the amount that would be paid to your spouse could be 100% of what you opt for, or 50%, or 75%. There's typically different options to choose from. The other option is often a lump sum, where you just take a cash amount that you invest, that you use to provide income for yourself and your spouse. Which one of those is the best is going to really depend on your whole situation. When you're thinking about your situation, you want to think about if you take the lifetime income, is that going to grow? There are some pensions that offer the ability to take a lower amount that will grow over time or a higher amount that stays level. And if you have that option, then you want to compare the two and consider what's the difference earlier on versus the difference later on. What's that gap of income that I would need to cover out of my own investments? And look at the crossover point. At what age does that crossover happen to know what might make the most sense for you? But a lot of pensions I see don't offer that option at all. They're just going to be level for the entire time that they're paid. And in that case, you do need a plan to cover the increase in spending that's going to happen over time just because of inflation. If that pension perfectly covers your expenses in the first year, then over time, it's going to fall behind as your expenses increase. And so you've got to have a plan for how you're going to cover that gap over time. We don't know what inflation will be in the future, so you want to run it at a couple of different inflation rates, 2%, 3%, 4%, and look at what is the gap and are you going to be able to cover that gap, and how will you need to invest the rest of your money in order to put yourself in a position to cover that gap. Another thing that you want to think about is your liquidity and how much access you might need to being able to spend money if an emergency comes up. Do you have that money elsewhere where you can just dip into an account to cover anything that comes up? You always got to have some liquidity. And so if you don't have liquidity and the pension income is, it's just going to be an income, you need to wait to retire when you have some sufficient liquidity. But one of the key things that I talk about with clients when we're looking at should they take the pension income or should they take the lump sum, and it's different for everybody. But one of the things that we look at is what is the legacy value and how important is that legacy to you? If something happens to you or your spouse or both of you early on, what would go to your family, and how important is it to you that you maximize what that amount is? Some people are very fine with taking that joint lifetime income, making sure that the two of them have the income they need for all of their life. Others want to make sure that if something happens to the two of them early on, that the balance that wasn't received as income is available to go to their family. So in the first case, the people that just want to make sure that they have the income, they would take that joint life income. In the second case, the couple that wants to make sure that there's something to their family no matter what, they would take the lump sum and invest it and then draw down from it to cover their living expenses. So those are some of the key things to be considering. Which of those are important to you? What other resources do you have? What other income do you have? So that you can put together a cohesive plan that meets all of the goals that you have for your own retirement, for yourself, for your spouse, for your family. Another thing that you want to think about is, what is the amount of the pension and the Pension Benefit Guaranty Corporation insurance that's covering that? You do want to know that your pension is insured. If there's anything that were to go wrong, that you've got some backup coverage there. Some pensions are now being transferred to insurance companies. And insurance companies are very good at doing this kind of a calculation. That is the business that they're in. They do it very, very well. But when it transitions from a pension to being an insurance company product, then it's not insured by the Pension Benefit Guaranty Corporation. It's now insured under the coverage that insurance companies provide within the state that you live in. So you want to look at that as well. Make sure that you know what that is. And that, just talking about insurance companies, brings me to another point. When you're considering the lifetime income amount, compare it to insurance company products, because it's the same thing. Can you get a much higher payout if you were to take the lump sum and buy that income for yourself? Or is the pension providing you the much better payout based on the factors that they're using? Sometimes it's one, sometimes it's the other, but it is worth looking at so that you get the most income that you can get for that pension for you and for your spouse, and then lock in any benefits that you want to have as a legacy for your children. It's not a decision to take lightly. It's obviously one that you want to really think through, look at it from all angles, because once you've made your choice, that's the choice that you're going to be living with for the rest of your retirement. So you want to look at it from all of the different angles, look at it in your plan projections, and then make the choice that makes the most sense for you and your family. And with that, I hope that that was helpful. If you have any questions, always feel welcome to shoot me an email. I'd be happy to answer questions that I can, and look forward to seeing you on the next video.